So this is crazy, and I don't even know if a lot of you guys know this, but today is actually election day. So there are multiple elections being held today. A lot of delegates are at stake now. A lot of people are saying with the Cove stuff that's going on, bro, like, you need to postpone these elections. It's too dangerous for people to go to a polling station, considering that the CDC says any gathering of 50 plus is a danger to public health. And so people are putting their lives at risk to go out and vote. Now, the only state out of the 4 states voting, Arizona, Ohio, Illinois, and Florida, the only state to actually postpone it is Ohio. And that was because the governor was like, no. It actually went to court. The judge ruled, no, this is going to set a bad precedent. And then the governor was like, no, I'm issuing a public health safety decree or whatever. And so they're not doing it tomorrow. The polling stations are shut down. So Ohio ended up doing the right thing. But there's a lot of delegates at stake tomorrow. Now, I'm really curious how this is going to turn out, honestly, on how the Cove stuff is going to affect the turnout of the vote, because a lot of older people are going to be worried to go out to vote. I don't know. It may end up backfiring for them, because I think a lot of them probably think that it would help Bernie if they postpone it, but, this may actually backfire and that old people may stay home instead of going out to vote, although, a lot of them already voted early by mail, but, a lot of old people could stay home because they're, rightfully worried about the Cove stuff that's going around. So, an NBC Marist poll has Biden quashing Bernie in Arizona, 53-36, so that's a 17-point deficit, which is actually better than a lot of the other deficits that he's in right now, unfortunately. In Ohio, he's down 58-35. So, as you guys know, that's also not a very good number. So, he's getting quashed there, but they have pushed their election back. They will not be holding it today. But as you can see here, Arizona, not such a great look, down 17 points. So, not a good situation now. Illinois Victory Research poll. It has Biden at 55. He's actually plus 19 in Illinois, which is not good for Bernie Sanders. And then in Florida, he's getting demolished, which we all expected to happen. Now, what's really weird about this is that I read a poll, I think it was Morning Consult, that said that Bernie was actually doing better with Cuban Americans, with Cubans in Florida than Biden is, which is like, what? How the hell is that possible? It doesn't even make sense. It's so confusing, right? It just doesn't pass the smell test. Something weird is going on there. So I guess not even the Cubans who are voting against him, which is very odd. But has Biden at 63, Bernie at 25. Now, if Bernie hits 30% and Biden hits like 60, that's actually really great for us. If we can hit that 30%, if we only have a 30-point deficit, that's actually ideal for us. But basically, my predictions and breakdown is this. Bernie Sanders is going to get demolished, assuming all these polls hold. Now, the only factor and the only variable that I don't know about is how the Cove stuff plays into the voter turnout, especially amongst older folks, because who supports Biden? Older folks, right? So older folks obviously are very religious about their voting. You also got to keep in mind the state, like in Florida, I just saw a video where at the beaches, they're all in the beaches. Everyone's in the beaches. The beaches are full. They're completely occupied, obviously, because Florida is full of a bunch of dumbos. So you got to kind of take that into account. Are people really not going to show up to the polls as they have this religious sort of voting pattern and voting, history and whatnot? Are they really not going to show up to the polls? I don't really see it happening that way. I don't really see it happening, especially not in Florida. Now, what happens in Arizona or Illinois, I really don't know. But Bernie's going to lose every state. He's going to get demolished, unfortunately. And if it's a bad enough loss in every state, he's actually going to have to drop out of the race probably today. So it is possible that we see Bernie Sanders actually suspend his campaign, because unlike in 2016, he was actually pulling wins in 2016, in the schedule. And so there's actually like a chance of some sort of a spur of a comeback. Right now, it feels like I'm in a black hole. It feels really sad and depressing because we're getting quashed everywhere. There seems to be there's no light at the end of the tunnel here. We're literally getting demolished in Arizona, Ohio, Illinois, and Florida, right? We knew we were going to lose in Florida bad. But all of these deficits are massive now. I think in Illinois, I want to say we lost by I think it was 1 or 5 points or something like that. And then, in Ohio, we lost by like 5 to 10 points. Like, bro, none of these deficits were nearly this high. I don't know what's up with the voter base, and it's not election fraud. That's just not the case. I just don't know what it is that's in the minds of voters to be voting this way. I don't know, because Bernie had more support last time than he does now. He was performing better in a state like Ohio or Illinois than he is now. At least he was in the 40s, and he was having some close margins with them. This is a blowout, dude. And this is, when you talk about delegate numbers, these are big delegate number states. Florida has like 210, 205, 215, something like that. Delegates 220. He's going to get quashed there. But these other states like Ohio, they got a lot of delegates, man. These are big states we're talking about, especially Democratic-wise. So he's going to get destroyed, unfortunately. It's really sad, honestly. I don't really know how to look at this any other way than just with a very depressed look, because there's no light at the end of the tunnel right now. It just isn't. I don't see any states. In 2016, it was like, okay. Actually, you could argue we were in a better situation in 2016 than we are in 2020, because on Super Tuesday, we kind of did whatever we could. Didn't do well in the southern states. We're not doing well in the southern states. In fact, our leads in the southern states are actually worse. Our deficits, that is, actually. We're performing worse in the South than we did in 2016, 4 years ago. For example, in Mississippi, we didn't even make the threshold for viability. We got 32 to Ford, I think. Or I think it was 34 to 2, something like that. I think it was 34 to 2. We were 31-5 in 2016. We won Oklahoma, did not win Oklahoma this time. In Missouri, we came within 1 point. This time we lost by 25. None of this stuff makes any sense to me, and so my only possibility is that there are Republicans who are voting in the Democratic primary, because a lot of these primaries are open primaries and they don't have a candidate to vote for. I just really don't know, but I will be, covering this election and everything that's going on with it, but I really can't tell you what's going on with this, man. I really just have no idea, but I have to just break it to you, whole, and just real and just serious, because there's no other way to break this to you guys. I don't know how to tell you. I mean, we're just getting quashed everywhere. It's sad. Only thing we can have hope for is like maybe, people show up less because of COVID. Also worth noting that they're having trouble having poll workers, which is going to disproportionately affect Bernie supporters, obviously, because they're the ones who need the poll workers, more poll workers. So it's utter chaos. That's what it is. It's utter chaos. But that's what we got here. Those are my predictions. We're going to lose every state, get demolished. And there's a high chance Bernie drops out. Because, again, there's no real future for Bernie Sanders as of right now. What states can you think of where it's like, oh, yeah, we're going to gain ground there? I remember in 2016, the first half of the primary was different from the second half of the primary. Because in the first half, there was a lot of the southern states. But then there were very few southern states left after Super Tuesday. And so we swept Washington. We had a massive gain there. We won 75. We won 75 to 25. We demolished. We gained like a massive 40-50 delegate lead, which helped us cover for a lot of other losses. And then we took Hawaii. We took all these, like Oregon. We took all these states. That we're losing this time. We demolished in Minnesota, for example. Right, we came within like 1 point in Massachusetts. We got bodied in Massachusetts by like 6 points. All of these states, and so I don't see a path forward for him because all these states are not voting for him. He's lost ground from 2016. He's performing worse than he did in 2016. So I just don't see anything unless something drastic happens. Where do you see a possibility for Bernie to gain anywhere? There just isn't anything left. He's getting quashed everywhere, and so I don't know what's happening in the country. I don't know what's happened to the country, but definitely a bad look for the United States, especially during this pandemic that's going on. And then you've got the guy who's best equipped to take it on and his policies to take it on, getting quashed. It's just not a good look for the voter base, not a good look for the, IQ average, just not looking good for the intelligence and critical thinking average of the United States populace. But in terms of just looking at the election, there's no real way forward. Again, second half of the primary last time around was like, oh, we got a bunch of states we can take a bunch of ground in, and we swept the hell out of those states. But this time we're losing everywhere. We lost Washington. I still don't know how that's possible. By the way, it doesn't make any sense how we lost Washington. Remember, we won Michigan. Remember that? And our losses in states like Ohio and Illinois, they were all by like 5 points or 1 point. This is a destruction. And then again, dude, down like 17 points, 20, 25 points. There's a lot of delegates at stake, and then you're losing a lot of delegates if you lose by 25. If you lose by 5, like, you're not in that big of a deficit hole. But if you down by like 20, that's a big deficit hole. And so that's my breakdown and predictions of this election today.